Good morning, everyone. Oh, let me just say hello, everyone. My name is Vera James, and I welcome you all to the Ask the Pediatricians live show today. We'll be having Dr. Gbemisola Boyede, our pediatric consultant, and she'll be taking us on this very important topic, fever in children. Dr. Boyede, you're welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning, Vera. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on Ask the Pediatricians Live. My pleasure to be here.
Good morning, you're welcome, ma'am. So how are you this morning?
I'm good.
All right, good. Okay, without wasting so much of our time, we'll go into what we had here for today. Today we'll be talking on fever in children. As usual, Dr. Boyede, before we go into our question and answer time, would love you to tell us what do you mean by, give us an overview of fever in children specifically.
Thank you, Vera. Fever is having high temperature. So when we measure the temperature and usually it's higher than 37.5, then we say that that child has fever. The normal temperature is usually between 36.5 to about 37.5. So anything above the normal temperature, the normal body temperature, is referred to as fever.
Okay. All right, thank you. Would that be all you want to tell us? But before then, before you continue, Dr. Boyede, let me just speak to the viewers. Viewers, please kindly ask your questions, go on our group page, write your questions, and tell us exactly what you want to know about fever today. Dr. Boyede is here, and she's very, very willing, and she'll be happy to respond to every question you have as regards fever in children. While we wait for your questions to come on, I would want Dr. Boyede to talk more. I know she has lots of, she has an outline to share with us today. So we'd love to take your questions. Please let's ensure that your questions are brief and to the point, so we don't have to spend so much time reading your questions. Okay, Dr. Boyede, over to you again.
Okay, so thank you very much, Vera, and our viewers. Fever is one of the commonest complaints that mothers have, and this is because, there are many things that could cause fever in children. And today I will just give a brief overview of causes of fever in children, and then what a mother should do if you think that your child has fever, and then what next to do after that. Okay, so let's start with what causes fever. You will feel hot as well, and you will measure that and think, oh, this child has fever. And all you need to do in such a case is just to take out the excessive clothes. And this is especially common in new babies. Because those of us in Nigeria and some other African countries, we believe that newborn babies are too fragile. They should not have. They should not be exposed. And so we have this tendency to always swaddle them, and they're always wearing thick clothes with scarves, minting socks, and all that. Which there's really nothing wrong with, but sometimes when the weather is hot, this clothing can be excessive, and such babies could have high temperature, and all you need to do is to take off those excessive clothing. So I always tell mothers, dress according to the weather. So if you are living in an area that is temperate, very cold, you need to put on more clothing. But in area that is hot or warm, you dress according to the weather. And there's a way to know. All you need to do is to feel the palm or the soles of the feet of the child. If they are cold to touch, then most likely that child is cold and you need to put on more clothing. If they are warm to touch or the child is sweaty and all that, then it means the clothing is too much and you can reduce it a little bit, more of cotton wears and stuff. So these are things that can cause fever that are actually due to our own things, our own like what we call iatrogenic, what you cause by yourself. Okay. But sometimes fever could be a symptom of a disease process going on in the child, and that will now make the child to body temperature to rise up, because the body is trying to fight whatever infection, whatever disease is going on, and in that process, the core temperature will rise, and that will manifest as fever. So fever itself is not a diagnosis, it's not a disease on its own. It's just a symptom or a warning sign for us to know that this child is something is going on that we need to pay attention to. And so almost so many things can cause fever. In our own environment, we talk of things like malaria, which is one of our commonest cause of fever in children, because we are living in malaria endemic environment. I'm talking about Nigeria now and most of the African countries. Other causes of fever include infections, and this infection could be any part of the body. And sometimes the child will also have other symptoms that will help you to localize where that infection is coming from. So if the child is coughing, for example, it could point to a chest infection. If the child is sneezing and all that, it could point to an upper respiratory tract infection. If the child has some toothache and all that, it could be a pointer to a dental infection. If the child has red eyes and stuff like that, it could be a pointer to eye conjunctivitis or things like that. If the child is having abdominal pain or is having watery stool, it could be a pointer to something going on in the digestive system or in the gastrointestinal tract, and so on and so forth. If the child has a wound, it could be something on the skin and all that. So sometimes we can, based on the other symptoms, know where the other causes of that fever is coming from. But there are times we also have fever that's just a fever, and we don't even know where the fever is coming from. It could just be an infection going on in the bloodstream, what we call sepsis or septicemia and all that. And sometimes it could be those internal organs that we really need to do a lot more investigation for us to know that there are things that are causing this fever. So we could have things like infection, but there are also other causes of fever like cancers and things that are a little bit rarer, or what we call autoimmune disease. So there are so many causes of fever. So it is important for mothers to know that fever is just a sign, and we need to now know what is the underlying cause of the fever. Even sometimes some immunization can also induce fever in children. And so that is one of the reasons why sometimes after immunization, we always tell mothers that as one of the side effects of these vaccines, this child may have fever and this is what you need to do. So I will just stop there in terms of the causes of fever. The most important thing for one is for mothers to identify that a child has fever, because even though the fever is a pointer to a particular disease itself, there are also some complications that are associated with that fever on its own. In other words, so if the fever is too high, for example, a child can convulse. So we have what we call febrile convulsion, or even the convulsion could also be a sign of infection, that fever is due to infection in the brain. But sometimes, even when there's no infection in the brain, when the fever is so high, some children will actually convulse, and this can be very frightening to the mothers and to the children. I mean, to everyone around, and people start to panic and all that. So we don't want fever to go too high. That is number one. So it's important for mothers to identify fever, and I always say every mother, you must have a thermometer at home. Those days we have when it's no this type of thermometer that is difficult for unless those who are trained nurses can read it. But nowadays we have the digital thermometers, so you can look at it and you could read it off immediately, and you already know the figures I gave you. Normal temperature is 36.5 to 37.5. So if it's more than 37.5, then that is fever. And then, so that is the first thing, you must identify the fever. Then the second thing is to deal with the fever itself, to deal with the, to bring down the fever so that the child doesn't convulse. And that is where we use our things like antipyretics like paracetamol. And like I always said again, every mother must always have paracetamol at home. I mean, that is one of those things that we doctors and pediatricians, we don't quarrel with you. you will
Okay. So we can
expect you to even have it
self-medicate
in
with
your fridge.
paracetamol.
Yes, of course, it's not you can use paracetamol if a child has fever. After you check the temperature, you can give. And
All right.
always check to make sure you give the right dose because sometimes mother just think every child is 5 meals. Every child is not going to take 5 meals of paracetamol.
True.
Even if you don't know the weight of the child, you know the age of the child. And most manufacturer will tell you this 0 to 3 months, give this, 6 months to 1 year, give this. So they give you an idea of what you can give. And then paracetamol doesn't have to be you give once and that is all. When you give, you check again whether the temperature is coming down or not. If it has not come down, you can actually repeat it every 6 hours or even every 8 hours, and that will be still be fine. Now, if after you bring down the temperature, the fever keeps coming back, there are other methods of bringing down temperature apart from paracetamol. You can also use um, what we call tepid sponging. You put like a towel in normal temperature water, normal tap water kind of temperature, and you just rub it on the child's body, or you can even give the child a bath, or then you can allow the fan to blow the child just to cool down his body's temperature. And after that, you recheck your temperature again and keep monitoring. But usually, if the fever doesn't go within 24 to 48 hours, it means there may be something underlying that fever. And then that is when you need to now take the child to the hospital to know, for the doctor to see the child and to know the underlying cause of the fever. And once they treat that, then that child will be fine. Okay, so and what we want mothers to do is to identify fever early. If the first stage treatment, if the fever is not going within at least 1 to 2 days, then take the child to the hospital.
All right. Thank you very
Don't
much,
try
Dr.
to assume you
Boyede.
know the cause. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
you're welcome.
Okay, speaking of tepid sponging, can you just explain the technique behind that? Because, okay, let me give an example. Someone was telling me
Yeah.
some time ago that if you pour the water on the child's head, I mean, the child might convulse. So I want to draw the line there. Is that a myth, or is there some kind of technique you want to share with the viewers?
Okay, so like I've told you already, a child who has fever can convulse when the fever is high. So so sometimes mothers do a lot of associations that for those of us who are the pediatrician, we know that those associations. So a child already has high temperature is going to convulse anyway. So maybe it was just coincidental. It was the time you were now pouring the water that the child convulsed. It is not the water that caused the child to convulse. It's the temperature itself. So it has nothing to do with the water. So you can give the child a bath. You can pour water from the head to the body. Have a proper bath. It's for those of us who did science, you remember what we call conduction, convection, and
Yeah,
radiation
yeah, and all of
method
those, Sean.
of heat transfer.
Yeah.
So what temperature sponging and what giving a bath does is that when you put water on that child, the water will evaporate, or and in that process will take off some of those heat. So you are not supposed to dry the body, you're supposed to leave some water on the body, and that heat, the temperature will kind of heat up the water, and in the process of the water converting from liquid to gas, it takes that heat away. So that's the process, and that's why you keep doing it, because when some have gone, you keep tapping sponge. So tapping sponge is not something you just do back 1 minute and you are down. It can be very continuous, and you keep doing it. And that's why sometimes using multiple methods is good. So you are tepid sponging, you've given a bath, you put on your fan, you give paracetamol. It's very more effective than just doing one, especially if the temperature is quite high. When we talk of things like 39, 40, that is very high temperature. That one you need to really be more aggressive with all the methods to bring down the fever. But if it's just mild fever, then you can just do one method and that will still be fine.
All right. Thank you
So it
so
is
much,
not
Dr.
the type of
Boyede.
sponge that brings down the things. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right, viewers at home, we expect to see your questions rolling in now. Dr. Boyede is here to take them. Dr. Boyede, there's a question for you.
Yes, good morning, doctor. Please, what can be the cause of fever in a child after being treated for malaria? That's from Mary Isheri. Okay, thank you, Mary, for your question. So, like I said, I've already told you all the possible causes of fever. Now, the mistake, and I know where your question is coming from. Sometimes I always know where mothers are coming from. Now, mothers always assume, especially in Nigeria, that every fever is malaria. In other words, in fact, they always say malaria fever. So for most Nigerian mothers, they think the only thing that causes fever in children is malaria. And so because of that, once a child has fever, they don't even go to the hospital, they just buy anti-malaria and treat. And so they wonder that after they've treated malaria, the child is still having fever. So if you remember my introduction now, if you were here then, I've already said that there are 1,001 causes of fever. So malaria is not the only one. So if you treat malaria and the child is still having fever, it means there are, well, let's say two or three possibilities. Number one, the fever is not due to malaria. There may be other things that could cause fever that are not malaria. Number two, you may even, let's say it's even malaria, you may not have treated the malaria properly because sometimes some mothers don't know how to treat the malaria. And three, it could be the drug you use is the malaria is resistant to it. But let me just say half of the time, most time is the child fever is not due to malaria. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Boyede. I saw
I
another
can see
question.
another
Okay, good.
question that, yeah. So when a child is having fever and hands or feet are cold and the child is properly feeling cold and yet running fever, I can't see the rest of the question. Is it what should you do or something like that? That's from Busayo. So when a child is having fever, most of the time the core temperature is high. In other words, the body shuns blood, away from what we call the peripheries, the hands and the feet, and that is why the hands and the feet are cold. But the child is actually not cold. The child is actually having a fever and it's hot. So you don't ignore the hands and feet that are cold. You should actually make sure you do all the other methods of bringing down the fever. Sometimes some children have what we call rigor, especially for those who have malaria. So you
Yes.
can wrap them up a little bit, but don't forget that they will also get very hot as well. So you need to when they are shivering, you can wrap them up, but you also still give them something to bring down the core temperature, which is the fever.
Okay. Okay, there's another question for you, Dr. Boyede.
Okay, this question is say what can be done to bring down fever if you don't have a paracetamol handy.
Paracetamol.
So from okay, yes, I've already said you can tap a sponge, you can give a bath, you can also put on the fan, remove the clothing, expose the child. So these are other methods you can use. And paracetamol is not the only drug that can also bring down fever. You can use something like ibuprofen as well. It's also a very good antipyretic. Yeah, you can use.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Boyede. I was just thinking, sometimes we have questions like this from members of the as a pediatrician, and they say, my child's head is very hot and the body is normal. I mean, I feel my child has fever. Usually
Yeah,
would
yeah,
answer
yeah, yeah.
that, use a
Okay.
thermometer. Please help us clarify
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Because if you look even at our intro picture, you can see that there was a picture of a mother
Yes,
touching
yes.
the head of the child to know whether because that is how traditionally we feel for fever. So we use our hand to touch and all that. Now, I always tell mothers, it is because your hand is not sensitive enough. It's not an instrument. That is
True.
why they created a thermometer. Because if you are hot yourself and you feel hot, you will think the child is hot. So if you think it's okay to feel and you think the child is hot, please use the thermometer to check so that you will know. And I tell them the instrument in your hand. So if you think the child is warm, use your thermometer to check. If the thermometer is saying it's normal, then just relax. You can recheck again. Unless you are really think the child is really very hot, the other parts of the body are also hot, and you think maybe your thermometer is faulty, then you can get another thermometer and try. But if the thermometer is reading normal, then there's really nothing for you to worry. Now, the different parts of the body are doing things at different times. So a part of the body that is actively working at a particular time will be warmer, not having fever but warmer. So when you have just finished eating, put your hands on your tummy, it will feel warmer because that time digestion is going on. So a lot of blood is being pulled into your tummy. When your child is thinking or doing active things that involve using the brain or eating things that involve, their head may feel warmer. That's why babies are breastfeeding.
Oh,
Sometimes you see them sweating because they're
true,
using a lot
true,
of, so
true,
a lot
true.
of blood is supplied. So the way the body works is that the part that is working gets more blood supply. So sometimes they could feel differentially warmer than the rest of the body, but it doesn't mean they have fever. And that is why even when you now use the thermometer, it will still be a normal temperature. So
Thank
mother
you.
should stop worrying. My head, the head is hot, the hands are okay. As long as the body temperature is fine. And there are many ways you can check your fever. You can check this in the mouth. You can check on the armpits. You can even do it in the rectum. So there are many ways for checking temperature using thermometer.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Boyede. Mothers, please put your mind to rest. You've heard from Dr. Boyede on that already. So you should get your thermometer and make sure you have that at home. I saw another question. Please, could you please up scroll that? So, yes. Georgina
Okay.
is saying, my daughter and son have
Yes,
been having fever.
Georgina is asking that yeah,
Go ahead,
at
doctor.
midnight, but can't. Georgina, like I said, you are not the doctor. So if your child is having fever and midnight, you didn't tell us how long, but if it's going beyond more than 24, 48 hours, you need to take them to the hospital so that the doctors can examine them. I think mothers, we are all, I always like to call us the first doctor, home doctors and all that, but sometimes we need to know when to drop our mothers, the doctors at. You need to know where your first aid stop and where the professional needs to take over. Because we see this a lot, especially in Nigeria. Most mothers come to the hospital late because they want to treat the child yourself. So your child is not, you are not the doctor. So if you've given your paracetamol, you've done what you could do, day one, day two, the children are not better, please take them to the hospital. We have health centers, we have general hospitals, we have our private hospitals, and you can take your children to, and and they will be fine. So that's what I would recommend for you to take those children to the hospital because we could be talking pneumonia here, we could be talking so many other things. As the earlier children are seen and treated, the better they are for them. Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Boyede, I'd like to take you back a little. You talked about the use of paracetamol and ibuprofen. So I would like you to clarify that. Do you advise that parents should give paracetamol and ibuprofen at the same time? Or is it alternatively or something? So please clarify.
Okay, thank you very much. Usually, I recommend one at a time. So, in other words, if you have given paracetamol, that is fine. You don't need to also give ibuprofen. But if you don't have paracetamol, you want to give ibuprofen, that is also fine. Though we doctors sometimes we use it too when we are dealing with very high fever, but I think
Yeah.
that should be left for professionals to do. For at the level of the mothers, I would just say use one, and you can use your paracetamol. You can give up to every 6 hours. In other words, you can give 4 times in a day. The same thing for your ibuprofen.
Okay.
So Anya who favor is asking in a situation where the child vomit the drug continuously during the fever, what can one do? Yes, fever, that is actually a very typical scenarios of very sick children. Sometimes very sick children cannot they
Retain the
find it difficult
drugs.
to tolerate drugs, so they
Yeah.
vomit a lot. So that is why there are other options to bring down the fever. So you can tap a sponge, you can expose, you can give a bath and all that. However, like we said, fever is just a symptom. So the underlying cause of the fever also needs to be treated. And to treat that, that is why we suggest that you may need to take the child to the hospital. And if you take a child to the hospital, the doctor prescribe oral drugs, and the child keeps vomiting. It's an emergency. A child keep down drugs. It's an emergency. You need to take the child back to the hospital because the child is losing water. The child is at risk of hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, and all that. And the child is still not yet getting treatment for the underlying cause of the fever. So all those things need to be sorted on time so that the child can get well. And the way we do it is that we put the child on what we call intravenous treatments. We put on drip, we give the drugs through the vein. Then when the vomiting has stopped and the child is able to tolerate the oral drugs, then we can switch over to the um, oral drugs again. So when the child is no longer vomiting. Okay.
Tolulope is asking.
Yeah.
Let me read
Yeah,
that.
I don't look like I've answered your question already. You said what because of a high running temperature at night, but majorly only on the head. So look, have you checked the temperature with the thermometer? If the child, if the thermometer, because like Vera has asked the question, if you think the head is the only one hot, check with the thermometer first. Because most of the time there's really nothing wrong. I mean, the child doesn't have fever. You are the one thinking the child head is hotter than the rest of the body. But as long as the child temperature is not above 37.5, then the child is fine. So sometimes mothers I hope we don't over treat our children when there's really nothing
True.
wrong with them.
True.
So if you check and it's fine, that's fine. But if you check and the child's temperature is above 37.5, 38, 39, please take the child to the hospital for proper treatment.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Boyede. Viewers would like you to ask your questions. We're still live, and Dr. Boyede is here to attend to them one after the other. So could you please scroll on the next question? Let's see what we have. Okay, Dr. Boyede, would it be out of place if we ask a question on low fever here?
Yeah, it's
Because we
not.
understand
Well,
that you have said it
what do you mean by low
continuously.
fever? There's nothing. There's nothing called low fever.
What I
Do you
mean
mean
is,
lower temperature?
thank you, thank you. Sorry, that was a blunder.
Okay.
Lower temperature like 35.4,
Yeah,
35.6. I've seen
yeah,
people ask
yeah.
questions like
I
that.
mean,
What do we call
yeah.
that? How do we?
So we call it hypothermia in medical jargons. Hypothermia. So hypothermia is also, in fact, we are more worried about it sometimes than fever. So but number one, you need to make sure your thermometer is working. Because sometimes if your thermometer is not working, you can get false low temperatures and all that. But if the child actually feels cold to touch and the temperature is reading anything below 36, that child is having hypothermia, and it's also a serious problem because it will also get it in some very illnesses and stuff like that. So what you do is to wrap up the child, keep the child warm, put on socks, this is common in the newborn babies and or the
Yeah,
babies below 1 year. They can
true.
actually go very cold and it can kill. So you keep them warmer,
Wow.
wear socks, wear green things, put on the cap, wear thicker layers of clothing, and then check the temperature again whether you are able to bring it up. Give hot. If it's a child on breast milk, breastfeed. Breast milk is at very high normal body temperature. If it's a child of formula, you can give your child who is already eating. You can give hot food, hot drink, hot drink. When I say hot drink, not alcohol, I mean a drink that is warm, like cocoa beverage or something that is warm, and then check the temperature again. That is your own process of rewarming the child. But if the child is not yet better with all that, then you need to take the child to the hospital. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Boyede. Before we continue, we'll just take a short commercial now.
Being a great mom isn't just about playing with your kids or providing toys for them. It's also about knowing when they're not feeling well and the medicine that's right for them. When my daughter has a fever, I give her Panda paracetamol drops, specially designed for the relief of pains and feverish conditions in infants and children. It's very gentle on my daughter's stomach and body so that she gets stronger and healthier. With Panda paracetamol at hand, I get to spend more time with my little girl.
Feel good, get better with Panda paracetamol.
Feel better with Panda paracetamol, another quality product from Afrap Chem Limited.
Okay, welcome back. We have another question. I saw one question. Yes, good.
Okay, thank you, doctor. Is it right for a child of 5 years old to be put to sleep by doctor in hospital because the fever is too high. Linda, I'm not really sure a doctor will put the child to sleep because of high fever. So you may need to actually ask your doctors what they are trying to do. We usually don't put children to sleep. We pediatricians don't like putting children to sleep for any reason unless there's something wrong. But let me also quickly say that a child who is having high fever can go into coma. So in other words, a child who has malaria, they can have what we call cerebral malaria, they can have meningitis, they can go unconscious because of the underlying illness. So it is not the drug of the doctors that is putting the child to sleep. It is the condition itself. So, and sometimes this can be very confusing for a mother because you are just looking, you don't understand, you think the doctor gave a particular drug and after that the child fall asleep and you think it's a drug. So it's good to always have a conversation with the professionals managing your child, let them know, ask them. I always telling mom to always ask questions. What are you doing? What did you give? What is he supposed to do? It is your right. Of course, you don't have to do it when they are trying to save your child. When they finish, you can now ask questions because so that you don't also disrupt the treatment process. So I doubt a doctor will sedate a child who is having fever. They will give something to stop the fever, but the underlying cause of fever can also make the child go unconscious.
All right.
So Ilamo Elizabeth Samuel is asking when the head is hot. I think I've answered this question like several times.
Yeah.
And just check the temperature. And I think most Nigerian moms always think, oh, the head is always hot and the rest of the body is fine. Just check the temperature and that will help you to know what to do. So don't rely on your palm. It is not reliable. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Viewers, I would enjoin you to invite your friends. Please share this video. Click on the share button and share on your page and all of that so your friends could join us
Being
and
a
ask their questions. Dr. Boyede is here and we are still on for another 20 minutes or so. So please share this video. Thank you. We'll take the next question.
Okay, sometimes come out of it and okay, Esther, I always ask questions related to the topic we are discussing. I can't see any parts of fever in your question. So, but if you have taken your child to hospital several times, I always want to know which hospital and who did you say. I would prefer you take the child to a hospital that's a pediatrician. So the teaching hospitals are usually they always have the best of the specialists in any field. Even in the pediatric, they also have the super specialists. So you may want to take your child to the children emergency room of the closest teaching hospital to you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. A few questions are coming on now. I'll just take them. Linda is okay. Jane Mike SCN. She says, "Good job, doctor. Please, ma, I read here in this group benefits of exclusive breastfeeding." This is a long one, so we'll have to take some time to read this. And one of them is that the child will be free from sicknesses. But my child tends to have fever often. And I took her to the hospital last month, which test was conducted and everything was negative. Although she was treated and the fever came down. But after 3 weeks, which is now, she's having fever too, and I don't know what to do now. My house is baby-proof, but I still don't know the cause of fever in her. And her fever is always on the side from 40 to 40.2.
Wow.
Dr. Bay, did
Okay,
you get that
great.
question?
So, yes, I did. Thank you.
Right.
What's the name of the mom again? Uh,
Jane. Jane.
Jane. Jane. Okay, thank you, Jane, for your question. Okay, so let me clarify. When we say that exclusive breastfeeding protects your children, it doesn't mean that those children can never be sick at all, because there are different things that could cause a child to be sick. But generally, children who are on exclusive breastfeeding are usually well protected against infection or that. Now, if you've gone to the hospital and they did tests and it's come out negative, then most likely the cause of is a viral infection. Viral infection tends to, most time when we do our blood tests, it may come out normal. So sometimes we have viruses causing infection and all that. So that is number one. And number two, if there are also causes of fever in children that are rare causes. So when you go to a average hospital, we look for the common things. We don't look for things that are rare. So we look for infection, we look for malaria, basic, because those are the commonest causes of fever. So, but sometimes some children have other sinister causes, autoimmune diseases, so many other things that may not be very apparent. So for such cases, you need a specialist to see. So if your child is having fever frequently, what we call recurrent fever, and they've seen the general doctors or the medical officers have checked for malaria, they've checked for infections, they pick out anything, then it is time to see the specialist. So I would recommend you go to a teaching hospital. In fact, there's an entity we call fever of unknown origin or fever of undetermined origin, where children have fever and all our initial tests always come out negative. We can't find out having that fever. Sometimes we need to really look and look and look. So, but that one is at the specialist level. So please, Jane, take your child to a teaching hospital for further evaluation. And don't feel bad because you're exclusive breastfed and your baby is having, it can happen, but it's not very common, but it does happen.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Boyede. Viewers, please, let's streamline our questions to the topic for today. Topic for today is fever in children. I can see some questions on nutrition and all of that. Won't be able to take those today. So please turn in your questions on fever, basically. All right, Dr. Boyede, before we get another question, could you please share with us one of your one of the most frequent issues you hear as a pediatrician considering fever? Just give us, maybe somebody might want to ask, and unfortunately the person is not here live. So could you tell us something that we need to know?
Okay, so there are some myths that I think I need to correct first. Number one, there are mothers that give their children paracetamol every day. Yeah, because they don't want them to have fever. So they think, oh, let me quickly prevent it. Please stop. You're damaging the livers of those children. I mean, and I keep telling mothers, there's no drug that is safe. In fact, there's an axiom that used to say, every drug is a poison. It is the dose that differentiates what is good from what is bad. So please, if you are the one of those mothers that give paracetamol every day, so that your children, because sometimes you say, they can't talk, I don't know what is causing, I won't know, let me just, no, please stop it. It's not all right. Then there are mothers that treat their children for malaria every 3 months. Please stop. You don't have to do that, because your children are not going to develop immunity against malaria. And when they eventually have that malaria, they are going to have what we call the severe malaria type, and it's very fatal. Most of the children can die from that. So no need to treat your children for malaria until they have malaria. For another point, it is not every fever that is malaria. I want the Nigerian mothers especially to get that point very clear. So if your child has fever, please don't start malaria treatment immediately. Give paracetamol. If the fever persists, take to the hospital. What we recommend now is that doctors should test for malaria first before treating malaria, because we are developing a lot of drugs resistance against our common anti-malaria, because mothers use it anyhow as well. So if your child has fever, 1 day paracetamol, 2 days is not going, go to the hospital, let them check for the malaria, let them check for infection, let them examine the child, and then they can treat properly. And then those of you that also give antibiotics routinely as well. So in other words, if your child has fever, you start paracetamol, you start anti-malaria, you start antibiotics. Please stop. It is, I mean, I've already written something about antibiotic abuse. We need to stop it. And those are the reasons why the children keep on having these things, and they're developing resistance. So after 2 days, go to the hospital. That is what we recommend.
All right. Thank you. There's another question for you, Dr. Boyede.
Yeah, if it is a viral infection, how is it treated? Because my son is treated for my. So, Ufoma, you are not the doctor, so I'm not going to tell you how to treat viral infections. So, like I said, take the child to the hospital. The truth of the matter is that viral infection most times don't need any specific treatment. Most of them go on their own. We have only very few viral infections that have specific antiviral medications for them. Majority of viruses, there's no specific treatment, but there are what we call supportive treatment, which could be as very important as the definitive treatment. In other words, if a child is having fever, bringing down the fever, supporting nutrition, supporting hydration and all that, they are also important because the child will have complications as a result of the high fever or dehydration or malnutrition and all that. So even though there are some viruses don't have specific drugs, the doctors still need to take care of the other things. Please, let's stop being the doctors all the time as mothers. I think I get a lot of that kind of feedback from some of the questions I'm getting. Take your child to the hospitals. And please don't give me the excuse of there's no money. Go to the government hospital. Most of those government hospitals, your child is going to be seen free and they will write the drugs for you to buy. So it's not as if you are going to pay so much. I understand if it's private, but you can still go to the government hospital.
Okay.
Okay, Felicia is asking that would exposing the child with fever not lead to cold? I've had such experience with my child ending up with runny nose. Okay, Felicia, thank you for your question. Number one, a child who has fever, exposing the child will not make the child cold. Of course, I'm not saying go and put the child in a freezer or in the fridge. You are just going to expose. The fever will come down. Then when the fever comes down, you put on the clothes back. That is okay. So the child will not get cold. And two, forget that is a myth, believing that it is exposure to cold that causes runny nose. Runny nose is due to viruses. They are viruses. So it's not the exposure to cold that causes them. You understand? Of course, some of those viruses thrive when the weather is cold. In other words, they are common during cold weather. And sometimes during cold weather, the protective mechanism that the body has will be slower. So because of that, it seems we associate a lot of. So when we use the word cold, it is not cold. So I think that's where the issue is coming from, because people always talk about runny nose as cold. So you think it's about they are feeling cold. Somebody can be having runny nose and having colds, but the body is actually having fever. So it is not that kind of cold. It's just let's say an unfortunate expression. It doesn't mean that somebody is cold, their body is cold. Runny nose is a viral infection. It's an acute respiratory, upper respiratory infection. Most often due to viruses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Linda has another question.
Thank you, Doc. So I am a doc in the house, and sometimes these kids just run fever. And Linda, if the fever ends with one single dose of paracetamol, so that's fine. You don't need to worry. That's okay. You don't need to keep on treating. Like I said, there are some infections like viruses, viral infections that will just even go on their own, whether you do anything or not. So if you give one dose of paracetamol, the fever is gone. But please make sure you confirm that fever, because sometimes some of this fever we treat, there is no fever in the first place. Because maybe the children have gone and run up and down in the sun and they came back from school, their body is warm. Sometimes just giving them a bath and allowing them to cool down, then you recheck first. You may be surprised the so-called fever has gone. But if after you check that and the fever, then you can give your paracetamol. And if it has gone, that's fine. There's no need for you to worry. But if it persists, that's when you now need to take steps going to the hospital here.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And this is getting interesting. I saw another question. Let's have that question from Okpe. Good. No, not this.
I think I'm just seeing one from Linda.
We've taken Linda's one. Okpe's one came in before.
Maybe you should read Okpe's one. Okpe, Vera, why don't you read it?
Trying to guess this. Okay, she's saying, hello, doc. Okay. What could be wrong when the child is having fever, yet test results shows no infection, no malaria? Doctor has taken this already, but okay, she wants to hear.
Yes, I've answered. So it could be virus infection, it could be other causes of fever, that basic full blood counts and malaria tests that most doctors will not pick up. So yeah, children could have urinary tract infection. They could have so many things that could cause fever that you will not pick up from. Even dehydration. When children are dry, that's another thing I forgot to mention. When children are not taking enough water and they have dehydration, it's actually one of the commonest causes of fever in children as well. And for that, you don't even need to give paracetamol. All you need to do is to make sure the children take a lot of fluid. And so even when you are treating, when you take a child has fever and you're giving paracetamol and all those things, please make sure you also give fluids, a lot of water, because dehydration is also a cause of fever. And like one of the mothers asked, most of those children are also vomiting. They are sometimes they could be stolen, so they could be dehydrated. And even for when you take such children to the hospital, all we do first is to rehydrate them. And when we rehydrate them, the fever just go on its own. So it's not all the fever that needs pumping drugs into the children. Yeah. So make sure you've taken care of the simple ones first, and let us deal with the others.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Boyede. I'd like our viewers to ask questions. We still have time. And please make your questions related. I can see all of the questions on the screen are basically breastfeeding and other related questions. Please streamline your questions to the topic for today's live show. It's fever
Vera,
in children.
let me just tell those, because some of them may not know about us, the pediatrician. So for those of you who has questions that are not related to the topic, you can go to our Facebook group, Ask the Pediatrician. If you go to www.facebook.com/groups/Ask the Ped, ASKTHEPAED, you will land in Ask the Pediatrician group. You can join the group. It's free to join, and then you can drop your questions and we answer them. But for the live program, we just want to answer questions related to the topic. Okay? Thank you. Okay, Claribel is asking, I just received my 10-month-old baby malaria catarrh cough 2 weeks ago. Now he's having catarrh again. So Claribel, you didn't really specify whether you saw a doctor or you were the one that did the treatment. So I would really want to comment about that. So, the child having catarrh again, there are many reasons why children have acute respiratory infection. I won't want to go into that because that's another topic on its own. And there are what we call environmental factors that predispose the child. There are factors that predispose the child to having recurrent respiratory infection. So things like if you are living in a crowded environment, if there's no ventilation, if you are not breastfeeding, if your baby is not getting good nutrition, if your baby attends daycare and if there's a smoker in the house, if you are the baby close to the kitchen or where you fry oil and stuff, or you use firewood for cooking or things like that, generator smokes. So babies that are in those kind of environment will keep on having recurrent respiratory infections, including all those that are not, especially if your baby goes to crèche as well, because they keep getting it from other children. But that is another topic for another day. So what I will suggest for you is that that kind of a question can be dropped on our group. Go and look at all the risk factors. Try and deal with the risk factors first, and then let's see whether the child continues to have it. And most time, viral catarrh is always due to viral infection. There's no specific treatment per se. So what you need to do is to address those risk factors, keep your baby warm, and the baby will be fine. But if the child has fever with the catarrh, you can give paracetamol, and if it's not better, take to the hospital. Yeah, hello doc. Okay, Bukola where is asking that a child that temperature is high and the lab result shows the child have bacteria. Yeah, what's my view? That is the cause of fever. So that is understandable. So you take the child to the hospital and let them be treated. Another thing I need to warn mothers: please stop going to run lab tests on your own. A lot of mothers do that, and then they will ask me, "What do I think?" or ask us, because we don't interpret lab results based without the clinical context of the child. It is after a doctor seen your child, and that's what will guide us to ask for a particular laboratory test or not. So if you just go to the lab people and just do tests on your own without seeing the doctors, that is wrong. So I would advise that you go see a doctor first and let them treat the child.
Thank you. Sorry, there's a little bit of technical issues here. Dr. Brady, okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. All right. Speaking on fever, you have advised that every mother, every father should have a thermometer at home. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go on.
Okay, good. Now, when people have thermometer at home, and then the resulting effect is that, okay, now I know that my child has fever, maybe 37.9, and then the person gives paracetamol, and then it moves on to 37.8 the next maybe 4 or 5 hours. Now, are we still saying that the person should wait for another 2 days, using the tepid sponge method, the paracetamol, or the ibuprofen method before the person sees the doctor? Or could you just assume that's an emergency and then move on to see the doctor immediately?
Okay, thank you, Vera. Okay, so fever, if it is low-grade fever, it's not an emergency. Even if you go to see a doctor, sometimes if you go to the emergency room, they won't see you first. They will see you last. So what I would suggest is that you can give it. You can wait 1 day. 1 day is not too much. But if you are the mom, if you are the kind of mother that don't want to wait, you can go to the hospital. Of course, you can see your general practitioners and stuff, and they will say you maybe run the test. But like I say, some people are just like maybe dehydration, maybe so giving time. If it's a disease, it tends to progress. But if it is nothing, to just go. So there's really no point to run around early. But if it is high fever, like you are getting some like 39, 40, 42, those ones, yes, you may not want to wait. You may want to go to the hospital. But if it's something below 38 and it's not so, you can just watch. But if it's anything very high grade, because the risk of conversion is higher in the very high grade fever, then those ones you really want to go to the hospital quite early.
Okay, Doctor. Busayo is asking, she's saying, hello, Doc. Please, what can I do if the fever persists, especially in the evenings? Relapsing fever, they say. And especially after the tests are negative, the child is fine all day and warm in the evenings. I'm sure you have talked about this, but maybe she just wants to.
Yeah, being warm in the evening, we tend to get that along with malaria, because they have what we call this fever that, that goes up and comes down, all that. So, and lab results sometimes, we don't treat lab results. That's another thing mothers don't understand. We don't treat lab results, we treat the child. So even if I think this child have malaria and my lab result is negative, I can still treat that child if I have enough clinical evidence on my own to think that this child has. Because lab result, number one, depends on which method. If it's a rapid test, it could be falsely negative. If it is a microscopic, for example, it depends on the expertise of the person who is looking at it. And sometimes you see some labs say take the blood at the peak of the fever, so that it improves the chances of them picking up things like malaria. And sometimes we need to repeat those blood tests, sometimes once or twice before we pick up anything. So that is why it is not good for mothers to just assume they go to the lab and do this. Go to the hospital. The doctor can on clinical ground treat a child even when the lab results are not showing anything significant. So all doctors know that we don't treat the lab results, we treat the child. Okay, so Innocent is asking that my son is 1+ and the body is hot, but I check temperature and it is 5.6. Number one, Innocent, 5.6 is not fever. That is even below normal temperature. So if you really think the child is having fever, maybe you may want to use another thermometer. Maybe your thermometer is an instrument, it could be 40. Especially if you are really convinced that if the child is really hot physically to you and you are checking and you are getting 35.6, go and throw away that thermometer and get another one. Or take the child to the hospital so that they can check the child for you. Yeah. Okay, Okpa is asking what part is the best to check thermometer. Okay, Okpa, you can check the thermometer. You can put it in the mouth, you can put it in the armpit, but for the rectal, they actually specifically what we call rectal thermometers. So I would rather use the rectal thermometer. And most mothers will not be very comfortable doing the rectal one, but everybody is comfortable doing the armpit and everybody is comfortable doing the mouth. And the way it is now is easier. Just wait for the thermometer to beep. It will beep when it has read. So don't just put it and take it out. That is not correct way to do the temperature measurement. You must leave it for at least 1 or 2 minutes, or wait for you to hear that beeping sound. When it is making the beeping sound, and that means it has read, that is when you read it through. Because if you put it immediately, it's still going up and you have taken it out too early and you will not know. So make sure you put it there for like 2 minutes minimum, or when it has beeped, which means has read its temperature, and then you can check it. So for mothers, I just say do oral or armpits. Leave the rectal for the nurses and the doctors to do, so that you are comfortable here. But you can do it. It's just that you have to use the special rectal thermometer. Okay, Patricia is saying my son has been having fever for 8 days. And he has, despite the medication he has taken, anti-malaria injection, was admitted on Monday. Vera,
Okay,
can you
Dr.
finish
But
reading the question because I
let me
can't
continue
read the
that.
rest of it?
Okay, she's
Yeah.
saying he has taken anti-malaria injection and was admitted on Monday. Guess the drip given was quinine SO4. Was discharged on Wednesday, continued with antibiotics via IV, yet still runs fever. Please, doc, what is your opinion? He is 1 year old and this fever is all day, though it fluctuates.
Patricia, number one, I'm worried about your child being discharged from the hospital when he's still having fever. That doesn't sound quite okay. I mean, as a pediatrician, if I've admitted a child and I'm going to discharge, I would want that child to be fever free for at least not less than 24 hours. So if your doctors discharge you and your child is having fever, please go back. Go back to the hospital. That's what I'm going to ask you to do. Obviously, they treated for malaria. They're also treating for infection, and the child is still having fever. So go back to them, and maybe they need to do further investigations to know what is causing this fever. But definitely, it is not right to have discharged a child who is still having fever. Unless, sometimes mother aspects, unless you are the one that insisted on discharge, because I've been there. I've been there when mother would say they just want to go, and no matter what the doctors say. But I think most of us doctors, we won't discharge a child who is still having fever. At least we wait at least for 24 hours, 48 hours of no fever before we send you home. So I don't know why they all read to discharge.
All right.
So just take the child back. That's what I would recommend.
Wow, it's been a very good
And if you
time.
don't have confidence in that hospital, sorry, Vera, just to say, if you don't have confidence in that hospital, you may want to go to a teaching hospital this time around. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Brimsola Boyede. It's been a very pleasant morning with you. We'll be rounding off in the next 1 or 2 minutes. I would like to just have you give us a closing charge or something.
Okay, thank you so much, mothers. Thank you so much, daddies. And thank you, everyone who has joined our live broadcast this morning. Thank you so much for all the questions. And just to say that even though the program is ending, you can still drop your questions, preferably not under the comments, because it may be difficult for us to pick it up on time. But if you go to the Ask the Pediatrician Facebook group, you can join the group, and then you can drop your question. We answer questions every day, Mondays to Saturdays. Sunday is our rest day. But you can access the group. There are lots of features. You can go to our units. You can learn things about breastfeeding, about nutrition. You can also read or go to our website, www.activepediatrician.com, and read topical health issues there. And then you can also drop your question on our Facebook group, and we will try to answer your questions as soon as we can. But if your child is sick, please do not come to ask on the Facebook group or on our page. Kindly take the child to the hospital. Our group, our as a pediatrician, as a charity where for health education and information. But please always take children that are sick to the hospital, because we won't be able to treat them online. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, viewers. We were happy to have you today. Please join us next week. We'll be here live at 10 a.m. We'll be happy to have you. Just like Dr. Boyede said, please go on our group wall, ask your questions, and we'll be very happy to respond to you. And then if you want to remain anonymous, you could send an email to ask@askthepediatricians.com. Goodbye. Thank you.